Good afternoon, everybody. This is Andy Pedraza with Special Effects Academy, and we are on the start of the week session for the Forex Trading Room on November 18th of 2018. And that being said, we'll get right started with our regular agenda. We're going to be taking a look at the prior week, our currency strength meter comparing last week with the week before, fundamental announcements scheduled for this week, brief overview of the major pairs, the charts, any setups that we see in progress, especially as regards fundamental events happening out there in the market, and a few parting words. We'll start by looking at the two account ledgers that we're presenting in this deck. Callum has a separate account that he started trading a couple of weeks past. We will be incorporating that one into this presentation in the next couple of weeks at the latest, so you'll get all three accounts. On the long-term ledger for, the current long-term ledger, this is a yearly account, so it won't be reset till the beginning of the new fiscal year. Last week was absolutely flat. I think the difference in the account balance is about 0.1%. So we did do a few trades, but we ended up being flat throughout. And we have one trade open right now on this account, a short on the Euro New Zealand. So nothing much to remark here. On the short-term account, we did have a less than stellar week. We had BREXIT news impact the market and solidly set us back by about 11%, close to 12% on that account. So we're going into this week on a recovery mission on the short term. These things will unavoidably happen every now and then, especially when we get unexpected news coming out that shocks the market. So we got caught on the wrong side of that one. That said, we did have quite a few profitable trades, so the week wasn't as bad as it could have been, but definitely a less than stellar performance at this point. Notes and opportunities for improvement. As I said, flat performance on the long term. So that one is simply was quiescent last week, though we did trade it. We ended up flat. And of course, as mentioned already, we did have an upset on the short term thanks to Brexit news coming out throughout the week. And not only did Brexit news come out, but it sent the market in both directions. One day the news was good, the next day the news was terrible, and the market sort of yo-yoed throughout, especially towards the latter end of the week. So that is where that is. And on the short-term account, we kept open a long trade on the Euro Swiss. So that one will be there for the beginning of the week, plus whatever else happens. Looking at the relative strength meter for last week and the week before, we can see that volatility remains high. It did drop from the week prior. We're down to a little bit above 3%, but still we're carrying a nice chunk of volatility there. Let's take a look at the key winners as well as the key losers. So we're looking at the Aussie and the New Zealand. We're definitely winners. Both pairs, which are usually tight at the hip, they did go into strength plays throughout the week, and we'll see that when we get to the chart. So Aussie and New Zealand had really good performance. And at this point, we do have to consider that they are doing a retracement, more a reversal, and they're starting to head to higher highs. So we will be looking for long opportunities on both of these currencies. The Canadian continues to suffer. So we had it dropping value against everybody except the dollar and the pound. The Swiss is still hanging out very middle of the pack. It wins some, it loses some. Euro had a pretty decent week, except against the Kiwi and the Aussie. As I said, those were the key winners for the week. The pound had its worst week in quite a while. Just dropped against everybody else on Brexit news coming out unexpectedly, as well as the political issues that are happening in the UK as a result of all the Brexit negotiations. The incumbent government is not having a good time. The yen also went in both directions depending on the currencies, as it is a global hedge. So when there's issues anywhere in Europe, money tends to flow into the yen, and vice versa. You can see in particular that the yen did very well against the pound as money fled the UK into Japan. At the same time, it lost ground against others like the Kiwi and the Aussie, obviously, as I said, the winners for the week, but against the European, the Euro and the Swiss, simply because Brexit seems to be affecting the UK more than it does Europe. So European money did not flow into Japan as it would normally do in times of turmoil. We covered the Kiwi, brilliant week for the Kiwi. The dollar had a pretty poor week and lost ground against everyone except the pound. Something else we'll take a look at the when we look at the charts. And silver had probably its best week in months. Silver did appreciate against everything else, and gold also fared pretty good, except against the Kiwi and the Aussie. So that is our relative strength. Moving into the fundamentals for the week, it is a relatively light week on the fundies. We have the Reserve Bank of Australia meeting minutes coming out tomorrow evening, as well as the Bank of Japan's monetary policy statement. The Bank of Japan statement might be one to trade. I may simply let the trading room, our 8 p.m. trading room, I'll just keep it open at least until 9 and see if there's anything tradable. So I won't set up a special session for this. I'll just piggyback it on the regular evening one. Wednesday, we have inflation report hearings out of the UK. And that I won't be trading that. ECB monetary policy meeting accounts on Thursday, also will not be trading that. And then we have a bunch of fundies coming out Friday morning out of Canada. That might be an interesting one to trade simply because of the high number of announcements that are coming out at the same time. So I'll take that under consideration throughout the week, and I'll make a final decision by Wednesday or Thursday as to what we're going to do with those Canadian fundies. That's it. That's all we have for the week. As I said, a pretty light week on the fundamentals. Moving on to our major pairs, and here's where we start looking at some of what happened throughout the week. You can see here the euro dollar, it was absolutely bullish the entire week. So the dollar did lose ground against the euro by a considerable amount. At the same time, we can see that there is a clear trend line there that is being tested right now. So I don't know if the euro is going to have the strength to continue this play, and quite the opposite. It may give us some really good opportunities to trade it back down towards the trend it had been following. Of interest here is that we did get a newer low in the past week. So regardless of this very bullish 5 days that we had here at the end, we have made a lower low. That is a significant event. So it's not set in stone that this is going to keep going up. Quite the opposite. I think this was a little bit of a last hurrah before it drops again. So keeping a close eye on the euro dollar. Pound dollar, of course, is the technicals are going to be absolutely useless when it comes to the pound dollar, because it is in the throes of Brexit. So the pound is going to move according to whatever comes out of the Brexit news, and the technicals are going to have to take a backseat until that gets clarified a little bit. Either way, we can see that technically it is very flat. It's towards the lower end of that sideways channel it's undergoing right now. Did not make a new low, but missed it by very little. So, I mean, it almost did a test of the prior low. And it's definitely has distinct bearish sentiment against the dollar, which is natural considering that Brexit is not treating the UK nicely at this point in time. JPY also appreciated against the dollar. So as we said before, the dollar did lose a nice chunk of ground this week. The USD JPY went all the way back to the Ichimoku cloud on the daily. So it's doing a nice test of support. We did trade this down. I think this was one of our winning trades throughout the week on the I forget which account, but we did trade this one. So anyway, it is at support. Also going to be keeping a close eye on this one to see which way it jumps as the week kicks off. But right now, whenever something is at support or resistance, it's very dodgy to try to figure out what it's going to do, because it could go in either direction. So another one that we'll keep a close eye on, but nothing yet. USD CAD, the CAD has not been catching a break for a while. However, the last 2 days of the week, as the dollar had its issues, the CAD took advantage of that and did a nice little bit of a retrace, but still following that trend line. So it hasn't broken support. It's very far from the support of the Ichimoku cloud. So this is still a bullish pair. And indeed, thanks to that retrace that it did on Thursday and Friday, might be a nice opportunity to trade it to the next higher high. So this one definitely on the radar. USD Swiss has gone back to the parity level after playing around in about 70 pips. It never got to 1.01, but it came pretty close. 1.07 was this high right here. It's finally dropped back down to the natural support resistance at the 1 level. In fact, it closed the week a little bit below at 0.99 something. So it is doing a test of that. If we have a nice break, I'm going to start trading it down again, but I'm going to wait for that to actually happen. The Aussie dollar, and this is a key pair. If we look at this daily, the Aussie dollar has broken through resistance, tested, and broken out yet again. We're now officially bullish on the Aussie dollar. It looks like we're going to have a nice month of bullish action at the very least. On the Aussie, it has a nice bit of room, 200, then 400, then 1,000 pips, close to 1,000 when we get all the way back to the top. Not saying that it's going to go there, but these breakouts over here are quite significant. So looking for opportunity, and in fact, we did trade this one up this week that just ended quite successfully. So this was one of the Aussie pairs pulled our fat out of the fire across an otherwise poor week thanks to Brexit. So we'll be looking for more opportunities to continue that trend. You'll see the same thing happening with the Kiwi dollar. So it has broken through the cloud, done a very, very, very weak test. It never got close to support before it bounced back up. So this is another one where officially we're going to have to be bullish now and look for nice entries to trade it back up about 600 pips towards the top. Not saying that it's going to do all that, but definitely we're looking for trades towards the upside. The sentiment with the Aussie is going to apply to pretty much every other Aussie and Kiwi pair. This one is no exception. So we see that the Aussie CAD has done pretty much the same thing. Partly it's Aussie strength, but on the flip side of that, it is Canadian weakness at the same time. So this one may give us very nice opportunities to start trading up. I'm going to be looking for long-term entries on the Aussie and Kiwi pairs, which are going to have some pretty wide stops, but their likelihood of success is also pretty high. So not sure when I'm going to be doing that, but I'm going to be looking for the best opportunities possible to start doing that. Euro Swiss, a sideways pair trading at support resistance, so I will tend to leave this one alone. We do have an open trade that is at profit on the short-term account, but that's what it was meant to be, a short-term trade. So as long as that continues to move in our favor, I'll keep it open, but I'm ready to close it at the drop of a hat because this is just too sideways. It really hasn't picked the direction in quite a while. Euro Pound. This is one of those wow charts. This is 1 day of trading, this extremely long candle, all the way from the low into the resistance of the cloud and then beyond. Of course, this was all Brexit news, so there's nothing technical about this. And indeed, it may continue climbing all the way back to the 90 level, depending on what we get out of the Brexit news this week. Definitely a news-driven event. You cannot do technicals on this one until the fundamentals have stabilized. Euro JPY, sideways pair with a bearish slant, so it has been dropping since September quite nicely as the yen gains strength against the euro. Seems to have taken a breather in the last month or so, and we're waiting to see whether it bounces off that cloud or takes off towards the top. So sideways pair, leave it alone. Euro Canadian, Canadian is gaining strength on the euro, probably the only currency pair where the Canadian is consistently gaining strength. So it has dropped from its high of March of this year significantly. And the more it drops, you can see the more it starts going sideways. So it's definitely at a significant point of support, and it is trying to stage a reversal. And the CAD has been weak, so you would think that this one would have already be up here somewhere. But the euro has had its own issues. So this is a key pair to keep an eye on for that opportunity in either direction, but we need something to make it break. Pound JPY, again, you're going to see these long candles on the pound pairs thanks to the Brexit news. Not much to say there, but you'll see that this one didn't get anywhere near the bottom of the chart. So it still has quite a ways to go if we continue to have pound weakness. So another key pair to keep an eye on, despite the fact that it is very sideways in general and has been sideways for all year, basically. Aussie JPY, this is another sideways pair, and we've had the Aussie and the yen both getting stronger and weaker at different times, which is why this one has stayed very sideways. We can see that the current price is exactly where price was back in February. So the only good thing you can say about this chart is that the Aussie did not lose as much ground to the yen as it did to other currencies, which means it also has less of a recovery to make if it's going to go back to where it normally likes to live, around the 88s. So we do have about 600 pips of opportunity there if we see some Aussie revival. Euro New Zealand, and boy, did we trade the hell out of this one. You can see all those nice little arrows. We traded it down pretty much the entire way. We're actually trading it, no, we are still trading it down. So we have a, we're still in one of these trades, looking for even more juice out of it. But we caught, I'm going to say we probably caught a bit more than half of this move over the past month or so. So it's been pretty good. It went all the way back to the expected support of the trend line, this very old trend line coming up here, broke right through it and is now playing around towards the bottom. And it has not made a low that it would be beating the prior low from June. So we're with that expectation of seeing whether it has the strength to break through and give us even a lower low. And again, this is on the Kiwi getting stronger, which it is, as well as the euro getting weaker. So we had that double bang here as both currencies moved in opposite directions, making this one crash all the way to the bottom. This was one of the better pairs to have been trading in the last month. Moving on to our pound Canadian, another very sideways pair thanks to the fact that the CAD and the pound have been weakening all along. So that has made this one travel very sideways, even if it does have a little bit of a yo-yo effect there as news from one side or the other hits the market. Obviously, Brexit was not kind to the UK last week, so we see another long candle here as all the pound pairs basically crashed on news of all the Brexit stuff going on. And that is it for the charts. Have our setups in progress for the week. So I'm going to be I'm going to keeping an eye on a few things. First of all, winter is back. I got my first snowstorm of the season, about a foot of snow on Thursday into Friday, which is why I added that snowscape there as the picture of the week. The USD pairs are pivoting. It looks like the USD is looking for a direction. There's a lot of stuff happening fundamentally across the world. Some of it good for the dollar, some of it bad. And the dollar seems to not be knowing which way to jump. So we have to keep a close eye on these dollar pairs and not get too excited about it, because they will tend to yo-yo on us. And really, we want to avoid giving money to the market when pairs are moving in both directions on alternating days. So keeping an eye on the dollar, but it's probably not going to be my favorite to trade for the next week or so. The euro pairs, they are staging a bit of a recovery against some currencies, not against all of them, but it's not clear, even with those, how far it's going to go. So keep a close eye on the euro, especially against the dollar and against the pound, and look for any sign of weakness. Might be the better trade to wait for that weakness and take it than to try to follow the trend with the euro right now. The pound pairs, of course, it's going to be Brexit and Brexit and Brexit. So forget about the technicals. Don't even look at them. Stay tuned to the news if you want to trade the pound. And last but not least, the Aussie and the Kiwi, they are making a recovery. It doesn't matter which one it is, because these currencies behave as if they were a single animal. So if the Aussie is recovering, so will the Kiwi. If the Kiwi is crashing, so will the Aussie. Right now, they're both heading up. I don't know if this is the recovery that the Aussie needs to make, because the Aussie has been battered throughout the year. So I don't know if this is the real recovery, or it's a little bit of an early warning system. But either way, both of these pairs are getting stronger, and we will be looking for Aussie-Kiwi pairs as the week advances. And last but not least, and I'll say it one last time, Brexit. Keep your eye on Brexit. That is going to be the key driver going into the new year. This week that just ended was very tough as the pound broke in both directions, shocking the other currencies along the way. And, of course, we got caught in the crossfire. But opportunities are going to be popping up as a result. So no looking back, full speed ahead, trade carefully, and keep an eye on those currencies that I mentioned. They're probably going to be the big movers for the week. And that is going to be it for me today. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Yeah, and I do.
Go ahead, my friend.
So I was looking earlier on the behavior of the Dixie, and I know there was a huge drop on the oil prices in the last month, 2 months actually. There was this huge sell-off in the
30%.
yeah. So, is there gonna be some kind of well, I know you sold the oil, did you?
Yes, I did.
So with the news of I think it was Iran that they're gonna cut off their production by 50%. Is that gonna affect anything in the next coming month?
It really should not affect all that much, because Iran is under an embargo right now.
Hmm.
So we're not buying any oil from them at all.
Okay.
It would be the Europeans are the ones buying the oil from them, and they have other sources. I don't think that Iran alone has the clout to affect the oil price. It's really going to depend, and here's the tricky thing: it's going to depend on whether we're going to be imposing sanctions on Saudi Arabia
Hmm.
because of the Khashoggi killing in the consulate in Turkey. That's going to be the real driver. That those conversations are going to be held this week. If any sanctions are going to be forthcoming out of the U.S. or anybody else, they're probably going to be coming out this week. If that happens, the Saudis are going to react, and the way they're going to react is by stopping oil production and making a mess of things. That is the one thing that I can see affecting oil price in the next week or two.
So if
Not
that
not Iran. Iran is a non-player at this time. It's not that they're not important, but right now they don't have the upper hand.
if that happens, oil prices will tend to go up then, or it's still gonna continue to crash.
Let me put it this way: all prices will go up at some point, regardless of the reason.
Hmm.
So right now they're still dropping. So right now I'm still short, but I've already tightened my stops. And if it starts getting going higher, eventually I'll take my profit off the table. As soon as that happens, I'm going to go long on oil. But that's going to be, again, options into next year. It's not going to be a short-term play. But I would expect the oil prices to recover that 30% loss between now and probably the middle of the year. So I'm going to be looking for options towards the fourth quarter. I like to give myself a little bit of extra room. So basically, I'll buy a leap either into late 2019, early 2020, and play it all the way up. But you have to remember that I shorted oil 7-8 months ago. So I was shorting oil when oil was going up. And when oil is going down, I'll be going long on oil. But I'm playing a year out. Those are not short-term trades.
No, those are definitely not short-term. Another question. On the heat map, you mentioned that the dollar took a massive hit against pretty much everyone. Did that reflect on the Dixie index?
Not sure. I haven't checked it, but probably it did. I'm gonna say I would very much say it did, but I would have to take a close look at it, which I haven't.
Because it pretty much got killed by everyone else last week. So I don't know if this is the turnaround for the dollar already. If it starts to weaken against everyone.
Yeah, I'm not going to be shorting the dollar just yet. I'm going to be waiting a bit to see what it does. But if you force me to go into the market right now, put a gun to my head and all that, I probably go long on the dollar. We'll see a dead cat bounce, even if this is the dollar crash.
Okay.
You'll see a little bit of recovery before it goes to to the bottom.
All right. Well, we'll see what the market does then.
Yeah, and of course that's only my opinion. Callum, what do you think? Callum, you had a baby. Congratulations, Callum.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry that Jeffrey stole your thunder. Jeffrey's not here today, but Jeffrey stole Callum's thunder. Jeffrey got married yesterday.
Oh my God.
Oh wow.
I know.
Congratulations, Jeffrey, wherever you are.
Wherever he is. Well, we probably will never see Jeffrey again.
No. He'll get in the cupboard every now and again and give us a message.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In Narnia. He'll be in Narnia.
No, he's probably going to get in cold while he's still taking a shower.
Yeah, those showers are going to get even more dangerous.
Good God.
But anyway, I agree. Congratulations, Jeffrey, wherever you are. And congratulations, Callum.
Congratulations, Callum.
Thank you very much.
Callum, what do you think about the dollar and oil and Dixies and all that?
I have absolutely no idea about the Dixies and all of that, or the oil, to be honest. My charts don't do the oil at the moment, my broker. So USD, the only one I'm looking at shorting is the chef, just because it's given me a signal.
Oh.
Nice. But wait a second, you're not getting oil price? Look on your console. Look for WTI or Brent. Either one is oil prices, and you should have them.
It's not on this one for some reason. I don't know. I need to speak to him because it's got
really
quite a
odd.
lot of. It's got like soft commodities, futures, cryptos, but there's no oil for some reason.
Interesting. Yeah, because even your vanilla MetaTrader will give you MTI and Brent. That's how I keep track of them.
Unless this is it here, then XBR against the dollar.
No, I think that's crypto. That is.
No, it's down as an energy.
Oh, it's down as an.
Yeah, I've got XTI, XBR, and XNG against the dollar.
Oh, yeah. XBR is probably the Brent. What price is it giving you?
67.09.
Yes, that's the Brent.
Okay, right then.
Right,
then
man.
XTI is probably WTI.
Right.
They're two different oil indices, but pretty much very close to each other in price always.
Yeah, I mean, every other time I've looked in the other brokers, it's always been WTI. That's what's confused me.
Yep, and Brent. All right. Well, now you found them. Now you can trade them.
Oh, okay.
I do not trade them on the open market. I trade ETFs, electronically traded funds that are tracking oil, and the one I usually trade is USO.
U.S. oil, then, right? Or is that different?
Yes, US Oil, it's actually a company, and they manage the only reason the company exists is to trade oil futures. So they're trading a month out. They're always tracking oil a month out. And the share price, because they do trade open shares, it fluctuates according to that. They're always long. They're never shorting. So when oil drops, their share price drops like a stone. And that's what's been happening. When I bought the options, the put options, USO was trading at 15. It closed at 11 on Friday. That is a massive drop.
Ugh.
Anyway, I'm going to have to go, guys.
I was short in 5,000 shares of that thing, so I'm pretty
All
happy.
right, all
All right,
Callum.
guys. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you, Callum. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks a whole
All right.
lot.
The baby's calling, probably.
The baby's calling. Yes.
All right. I'll
Take
see
care,
you.
man. Bye-bye.